I want to talk more about tariffs. It's November 13th, so whatever Trump ends up doing at this point is still future. I'm not sure when this will be published. So I have on a hoodie that I spent about $6 on. It's probably from Fruit of the Loom or Hanes. I can't really see right now. And I bought it on clearance on Amazon. From time to time, I pay attention to that sort of thing. And maybe that makes it a weaker example because I'm a frugal guy. But the normal price is like $16 or so, right? And it's a decent hooded sweatshirt. Eventually the zipper will break or it will get holes in it or something. But these are nice. It's cold here in the mornings, even in the summertime. So that's why I'm usually wearing one of those. But enough about me. This is a wool hoodie. It's 100% wool. I'm going to tell you where I got this. I got this from, here's the tag, Mountain Meadow Wool in Buffalo, Wyoming. I was on a road trip and went to go visit a friend, and we were staying in a hotel there. And I was with the kids getting the free breakfast, looking through that little magazine because they didn't have anything better to do, and they were taking forever. And I saw that there was a wool mill in that little town. And I said, well, I want to check this out because I'm very interested in small town commerce. As far as future things go, we need more solutions in that problem space. And the ad said free tours open to the public during business hours. And we were there on a weekday. So I told my wife, let's make a pit stop here real quick. She said, oh, that'll be fun because they had a museum and the kids could see how wool is processed. It turned out to be really cool. If you're in the area, highly recommend stopping by. The lady that runs it happened to be there while we were there. She was working the cash register. She was super nice. And I talked her ear off because I had all these questions, typical of me when I get outside of my familiarity space. I'm full of questions. So I bought this hooded sweatshirt, I think for $75. And that was a lot of money for me. I was on the edge. I didn't want to do it. But I did do it because I know from past experience that wool lasts forever. I have I have a few relics from past girlfriends, and one of them is a wool sweater that an ex-girlfriend gave to me one year while we were dating. And it's just a tank. The thing is great, and it's so warm. It's going to last forever, right? So I'm a huge fan of wool. You could call me a wool supremacist. That would be a true statement. It's so much better. It lasts forever. It is a lot warmer than polyester. It won't give you all the weird endocrine problems that plastics will. It retains 80% of its heat when wet. And so it's a wonderful thing to have in a survival situation because if you're wearing a pack and it's cold, once you start walking, you start to sweat. And if you're wearing cotton or polyester or any of those kinds of fabrics, it's going to lose the ability to keep you warm. And that's why you have to strip down layers. That's really annoying when you're wearing a 100-pound pack. And so if you're wearing wool, you just go. Especially those cool sweaters with the button down. In the Army, we had these wool sweaters with the buttons way down, almost to your belly button. And that's why you just unbutton the buttons if you want to be more comfortable, but you don't even have to do that. You can sweat through the sweater. It doesn't matter. Anyway, enough about wool. But there are more benefits. So I bought this thing, and the reason I share that with you, it was on clearance because there was an imperfection, which I still haven't found, but somewhere on here. And so the lady had marked it down and put it on the clearance rack. The normal price of this thing was $200, okay? Now, this lady was not wealthy. She was just eking by in Buffalo, Wyoming. And I asked her all sorts of business questions about how she found employees and kept them. She said, not surprisingly, that was her biggest challenge because you can't get people in a small town, number one. There aren't young people there. It's just old people who've retired. Number two, and meth heads and things. Number two is she had to get her son to come into business with her. And he was actually the guy that ran most of the day-to-day operations at the mill. She had done it when she was younger, and she had switched it over to him. So when you start pushing tariffs, now I know I'm comparing apples to oranges here because I'm wearing a polyester hoodie and I'm talking about wool, all right? Sure, you can make polyester clothing in the United States. Maybe. We'll see what RFK has to say about that, right? But the point is that even with the same materials, you can't run a factory in the United States for anything close to how inexpensive that would be in a place like Vietnam or Indonesia or China. It's not even close. And what's the comparison? It might be 20 to 50 times more expensive. That's just if you could push a button and the factory and all the workers magically appeared, that's what it would cost, you know? A lot more. Whatever a lot is many times more, okay? We're in a time right now where when you go to stores that are not renowned for clearance shopping, like Target, right? People that shop at Target are not looking for clearance. They want to go to Target first and foremost, right? If they were looking for clearance, they'd be going to Walmart. Like if they were in that income bracket, right? People who shop at Target, they have a couple of extra dollars. It's not like Neiman Marcus or whatever, but I don't even know if that exists anymore. But, you know, there are tiers in the economy. Same thing with grocery stores. And let me tell you something. Upper middle class people have no clue, have a much lesser clue as to the real economic situation. Because when you go to the middle tier grocery stores or the middle tier clothing stores, you know what you see today? The clearance is cleared out. If you go to a middle tier grocery store and you go to the meat sale or something, whatever's on sale and it's a significant percentage off, the leader items that are designed to get people in the store, historically, they're never sold out. Today, they're always sold out. Why? Because people are hurting. So that's the environment we've got. And into that, we're going to inject a situation where everything costs 10 to 40 times more. You think about that for a minute. This goes, who knows how the tariffs are going to affect meat. Now, meat's more complicated because we do have imports of meat and it does push down the price. But most of that's actually in the middleman, and it's a result of USDA regulations and the expense that's involved in keeping them. It's absurd. I could tell you, we know ranchers because they live by our house. That's in relative terms. In Montana distances, they're neighbors, which means that they're 45 minutes away, driving on a highway at 70. But these people have around, the family I'm thinking of has around 1,000 head of cattle. They get about $3.20 per pound for the cows they ship out on the cattle cars. You think about the difference between that and what you pay at the store. It's insane. I'm not talking about ground beef. Ground beef's like a giveaway. We're really weaving here. Ground beef's like a giveaway when you raise beef. You make the money in the cuts. And some of those cuts go for $14 a pound or more. And so the ranchers are getting hosed, and they always have. And they get hosed by the USDA. Because without that, they could sell directly to the consumer. But in order to do that now, they'd need a very expensive facility that at a small scale would never recoup the cost. And you can look at chickens and see the same thing. Chicken from a farmer costs an atrocious amount of money per pound. Almost no one will pay it. Anyway, let's get back to textiles. So these factories don't exist. They don't exist. And so if Trump slaps tariffs on these things, you're going to have a supply and demand crisis. There's going to be a shortage of whatever he throws the tariffs on. And what happens when you have a shortage of something? That woolen mill, the prices are going to go through the roof, because where else are you going to get it, right? All of a sudden, it's the only place you can get wool at a reasonable price. And reasonable was $200 for a hoodie. $30 for a little wool hat. Whatever. $20 for wool mittens. So all those prices are going to go through the roof. But then when the factories are built, they're not going to come down too much. Why? Because the supply will never be able to meet the demand. What are you talking about, Rob? Where are they going to get the workers? People don't do these jobs because they don't want to and they don't have to. They don't have to because of the welfare state. If someone has a choice between making $14 an hour at a wool mill or just being on welfare, guess what they're going to pick? Because welfare pays almost as much. So it's not all that easy. There are details there, again, that are being glossed over, but you got to understand the economics of this. So there's not going to be a line out the door to have these jobs that no one wants. And you say, but they're going to pay way more. Let's say a job goes, let's make the math easy, from $25 an hour, which would be pretty good, but we're just making the math easy, to $75 an hour, okay? It's a 200% increase. That sounds like a lot, right? Like if you could get a job right now, a simple job, just a brainless, it's almost like dropping fries, right? At a wool mill or a wood mill or anything like that, you'd say, like, sign me up. That would be a sweet job. That's so much money. It's such an easy thing. Like, you just go there and do it. People who are in information type jobs, creative type jobs, a lot of them would sign up for that in a heartbeat. Heck yeah, no stress. I never really have to think. I can do this with 2% of my brain. Well, and you might even be able to just listen to music all day or podcasts or something. That's all well and good until you get your first check. Because then you go to spend it, you find out that everything's gone up 200%. In fact, some things have gone up way more than 200%. Why? Because there is no supply to meet the demand. So who knows how the details of this are going to work out? But it's going to be bad. The only question is how bad. So the hope here is that Trump's efforts to do the tariffs will be completely stopped by someone somehow. Maybe they get locked up in the courts, whatever. But my concern is that whatever resistance to this, and there's of course a mix of just him not pulling through on what he said he was going to do. That's always possible. And in this case, all of that would be a good thing in a way. But my concern is that it's going to be uneven, that some things will slip through whatever resistance might exist and others won't. And that's actually the worst scenario of all. So tariffs are bad enough. Uniform tariffs would be the best situation. But when it's non-uniform, what's going to happen is that some things are going to explode in price. No one's going to be able to plan. Business people won't be able to jump in. I should have mentioned that more specifically earlier when I was talking about factories. Are you going to invest $10 million on a little factory or $2 million or whatever the heck it costs for whatever you're doing when these tariffs are almost guaranteed to not last more than a few years? Of course not. And why am I so confident in that? The only reason there's ground support for this is because most people are retarded. I should use a more specific term. They're woefully ignorant economically. And so once the high prices hit the shelves, no one's going to want this anymore. And it'll go away. Whether that's during Trump's presidency or after, it doesn't matter in business time frames. So any person that opens a factory is a moron because it's not going to last and you're going to lose all your money. The best thing you could do is buy a warehouse right now and stockpile it with all of these things that are really cheap from another country. And then you wait a year or 2 or 3, and then you can sell them for a huge markup. And you hope that that profit is higher than, that revenue is much higher than whatever it costs you to rent the warehouse. That'd be a smart move. So at a family level, you can implement that. And again, don't go crazy with things that you're not going to use and don't do this if you're super poor. okay? And it's sad because the super poor ones are the ones that would benefit most from it. But if you have a couple extra bucks, it doesn't hurt to look, like, let's say you have kids. You know they're going to grow. So look at the next few sizes in clothing and wait for a clearance sale and go buy them, right? And then if I'm wrong about all this, you've lost nothing except where you would have put that money anyway, which in most cases, just normal inflation will beat wherever you would have invested it once you adjust for the risk of loss. The whole market could go south. You're still going to have size 14 pants for your boy, right? And so I encourage you to think through these things, because you can implement these chunks of information, this wisdom, if you will, if it turns out so to be, in your own family. So, and you can save money that way. It's harder to do with meat because you need a freezer and that costs money and you need space. But things like clothing or school supplies or you name it, just look at what you've purchased in the last 2 to 3 years. You get extra spark plug or 2 for your lawnmower, right? If you wear shoes, you can buy shoes. It's dress shoes don't really change style for men. If you have to wear dress shoes to work, whether that's probably like business casual style these days, but why not just buy the dress shoes you need for the rest of your life? Your feet aren't growing anymore, right? It's only going to get much more expensive. Keep them in the box in a closet. So, I mean, don't hoard things, but if you're going to use it anyway, why not get it? And so, yes, I do have, when these went on clearance for $6, I bought like 5 of them because I know I'll use them and it's okay, right? And if not, I just give them to my kids when I die and be like, sweet, brand new clothes. So do I have 50 of these? No. I do own enough t-shirts, I think, for the rest of my life. I found a place where you could get them for $3 each. And I knew, because I tried one, I knew that I liked the way that they fit and everything. So it's just a way of thinking that's outside the box. But if you pile a couple of these things together, you're actually going to save a significant amount of money, a lot of money. So anyway, things to think about.